Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Mark Rowley, and this is Inside Mark's Mind. I am extremely excited today because I've got an incredible man with me on the podcast, Bob Larsen. How you doing?
Doing great. Glad to be here.
Good. Bob Larsen, the little, history with us is I've known you for about 3 years now.
Probably.
Yeah, and you've known my dad for, I think, like 10 or so.
Yeah, probably at least 10.
Yeah, so I've got to know you through my dad. And just so you guys know, whoever's listening, Bob is a physical therapist, an incredible therapist. He's a knowledge of wealth. I'll tell you that. I love listening to Bob talk because he knows something about everything and just really good insights and tips of recovery. And that's really what this podcast is going to be all about, is recovery, not just for cyclists or runners, just kind of everybody in general, right? Because that's what you deal with. I mean, anyone who just gets injured, you help them recover. Right. Could be who knows what, you know? So I'm super, super excited because about 8 months ago, you recommended like sauna training. And that's where I was like fascinated with the oh my goodness, just everything to it with the benefits, unbelievable amounts of benefits. And that's where I wanted to talk more about this with you and see what to do and just recommendations, you know, and even ice baths. So we'll get through, we'll see if we can get through all the topics today. Maybe not. And I don't care if we just only run through sauna training. But, I mean, how has your day been so far? I mean,
good day. Just went to work this morning and now we're here.
We're still surviving the whole thing that we're dealing with. Yeah. It's kind of like it's rolled over and now it's just the new norm, which is good. I mean,
it's strange for all of us, but it is what it is, and we'll just kind of get through it.
I know. So Bob, though, I'll tell you this, guys, he's scary on the bike. He'll attack and he'll take you down. He scares me. You intimidate me, man.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So I think sauna training.
Yeah.
You've been doing it for how long? You've been doing it for a long time, huh?
Probably 3 years I've been doing the sauna. Yeah. Probably not as much as I would like to, but probably in the last year and a half, I kind of got into it and started reading about it a little bit. And found some pretty interesting research that compelled me to do it a little more often. Yeah. So I built a sauna in my house about maybe 3 months ago, and I probably sauna 4 to 6 days a week if I can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, I wanted to see that sauna because
I'll show it to you as soon as we're done. It's pretty awesome.
I know you were telling us about it, and luckily, I've got access to a sauna in my home. Thanks to my dad. Thank you, Dad. So I'm actually doing it about 3-4 times a week, and super cool results that I've seen just within my time of doing it. But now that you've been doing it for 3 years, that's really cool. What are some of the biggest impacts?
I started doing it in the winter time just because I liked to warm up in there. Yeah. So I was doing it before weight training. I would just go in there and kind of get warm, and I would only stay in there for 5 to 7 minutes, just kind of get a warm up on, and then go do a dynamic warm up and lift weights. And I started kind of digging it, and so I just did that for maybe 6 months or so, and then I thought, all right, I'll look into this a little bit. So I started looking for some research and found some articles. Most of the stuff that's published is out of Finland, where sauna is kind of a religion.
Oh, yeah. There's tons of articles on it.
Oh, yeah. And most of the research, frankly, comes out of Finland. They use dry saunas there, which are, low humidity, high heat. But the more I looked into it, the more physiological benefits there were. And I kind of started thinking, man, I should probably do this more often. And so I started doing more of a protocol than just a warm up in there. So I try to stay in there for about 20 minutes each time I go. That's kind of my goal, is to get 20 minutes in. Yeah. That seems to be the sweet spot for maximum benefits with sauna training.
Gotcha.
And
do you do it at 180 degrees?
I try to get my sauna to right around 180. It seems like 175 is kind of
the sweet spot, right?
Yeah, that's where you want to be about. If you stay in it a little cooler, you just have to stay in there longer.
A little bit longer, okay.
Yeah. But you kind of do it to tolerance. It takes some time to build up to that. I certainly couldn't have stayed in 180 for 20 minutes when I first started in a sauna. You have to build up to it a little bit, but I think your body accommodates to it pretty well. I kind of believe that any physiological stress is good for the body, and I think the body adapts to physiological stress very well. So I think whether it's heat or cold or fasting or just about any stress exercise, certainly your body has to adapt to that. And when does, there's huge benefits. And I think that's what that's kind of what I found from my research into saunas is you get these massive benefits from sauna. So super cool.
So what benefits have you started to see? Because
probably go ahead.
No. Yeah. I was just going to say, because me, the big thing that drawed me into doing it was you telling, it helps with endurance on the bike or running or whatever it is, just like your overall health as an athlete. And that's the big thing where I was like, I want to improve. I want to get good. And like, I also want to take care of my health.
Sure.
And we'll get into that a little bit later because it helps a lot with your cardiovascular health. But anyways, as you were saying.
Yeah. So there's been just all these crazy studies, probably just a couple of studies that kind of piqued my interest early on. One is men who used saunas regularly experienced about twice the benefits of those who don't use saunas for cardiovascular related diseases. So just by getting in a sauna and doing nothing else, you decrease your risk of heart disease by 50%, which is pretty remarkable.
That is unreal.
And if another study, so frequent sauna users were found to be 40% less likely to die from all causes. So
all causes.
All causes. Dementia, stroke, heart disease, 40% decrease in all causes of death. So those kind of piqued my interest early on. And then as I started researching it, there's a lot of other benefits, better brain function, lower risk of Alzheimer's disease, all the cardiovascular benefits of exercise come with sauna. So even a person who can't exercise, someone that's wheelchair bound or someone, that has other physiological problems, they can get in the sauna and get the benefits of exercise without exercise, which is amazing.
Yeah, wow.
So it's pretty cool.
I like the part where you said better brain function. Yeah. I definitely need that.
Don't we all? One of the benefits that I haven't seen much research on, but you and I were talking before the podcast, is sleep.
Oh, yeah.
When I sauna, I sleep great. I don't know what it is, and I need to look into the research to that a little bit more, but it really, really helps me sleep.
Yeah, that'd be really cool to be able to find statistics more on that, because I know like what we were talking about 2 weeks ago, I was just exhausted from all the biking that I've been doing. So I'm like, I don't want to get in the sauna because I'm just going to be drained and I won't be able to ride the next day. And I just remember going to bed and I'm like, I can't even sleep. Like I literally was laying in bed for like 3 hours. And it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm like exhausted, but I can't sleep. And then it kind of like hit me. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the sauna training. Like I need to get in the sauna again. So the next week started back up again. And I'm sleeping like a baby. I'm getting my full 8 hours, 7 hours of sleep. And it's like, I feel so good, feel like I've got energy. I love it. It's incredible just what that does. But like other benefits that we can get from it is not just sleep, but I think, I know that you've got a couple other ones. Is there one that you want to go over right now?
Yeah. So there's something called heat shock proteins that are produced when we stress our body. And those have all kind of benefits. And it's, I won't go into all the physiology of those, but when we stress our body, especially with heat, we develop these proteins which sort of act to repair our damaged cells in our body. So it's almost like a growth factor is produced from being in high heat for a prolonged period of time that gives us all kinds of physiologic benefits. So that's one that's pretty dang cool.
So So sorry, would that lead into more of like growth hormones?
So growth hormone is a separate thing, and actually by being in a sauna for a long period of time, you do elevate your levels of growth hormone, which really helps with recovery. So if you've done muscle damage, you get kind of two pathways. You get the growth hormone pathway and the heat shock proteins, which both repair damaged cells. So you get this regenerative effect from being in a sauna, which is pretty cool. Which you don't get that benefit from exercise. You do produce some heat shock proteins, and there is some growth hormone produced with exercise.
Yeah.
But exercise creates damage to tissue also. Sauna doesn't. So you don't get the tissue damage. You get the regeneration benefit without the damage.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
I thought it was actually like tearing down the tissue a little bit because like, what in the world? I'm actually blown away with that. And even though like we've talked a little bit more about this, but dang. So, because I was thinking after I go cycle and I hop in there, I thought it was like tearing down the muscles even more, but it was also like building them up because of those heat shock proteins. But I didn't even like know about the heat shock proteins. I was thinking it was more just growth hormone.
No,
like it was
I'll read you a little piece from a study here. It says, when cells are stressed due to the changes in their environment, cellular proteins can unfold and become damaged. That's what we do with exercise, impairing their normal function and further increasing their vulnerability to change. During exposure to stress from temperature extremes, such as sauna, the cells increase their expression of heat shock proteins to stabilize the unfolded proteins and repair or resynthesize damaged ones. This phenomenon, referred to as the heat shock response, occurs at the expense of other cellular proteins to protect the cells from damage. So not only do you heal damaged cells, but you also protect your healthy cells from further damage by being in a hot environment. It's pretty cool.
That is amazing. Yeah. So really, I mean, so far already, because I wanted to get into ice baths if we ever got to it, but clearly it seems like saunas are way more beneficial than an ice bath. Is that correct?
I think that's true. The studies on ice baths are, there's lots of studies on ice baths, and I think they're beneficial for some things.
Yeah.
I think the biggest benefit of ice bath is if you do it immediately after a hard bout of exercise, it helps you recover quickly for the next day. If you had to do like 2 races in a row, like the Tour de France guys, they ice bath after you'll see them. I mean, they're off the bike, they eat something, they do a quick active recovery, and then they're in an ice bath for like 20 minutes, just always. And that's because they're trying to decrease the inflammation in their tissue.
Right.
To be ready for the next day.
But we do need that inflammation though, correct?
You need a little inflammation. So the problem with inflammation is when we damage tissue, it inflames, and that stimulates a healing response. But a lot of times the body goes overkill and inflames too much.
Gotcha.
And you get this. So it would be as if, this is a good analogy, if you like Bourne movies, if Bourne's in town and he's causing a little bit of damage in the area, he's creating a little bit of damage. Yeah. But then the police show up and the helicopters show up,
and then you just go
and
nuts.
They tear the town apart. So to take care of Bourne's little bit of damage, the inflammatory process comes in and just creates a lot more damage.
Dang.
So what you want to do with inflammation is minimize the excess damage and just let the little bit of inflammation do its job.
Gotcha.
And so after a hard bout like a tour ride or a really aggressive bout of exercise, we get excess tissue damage, and then we're really sore the next day and we feel like crap and we don't feel very good. So if you can control that excess inflammation, which is what an ice bath would do, then you're kind of ready to go for the next day.
Yeah.
What you don't want to do is do an ice bath. Let's say you have a morning ride and an afternoon ride, or a rugby game in the morning and another one at 2:00. You wouldn't want to get in the ice bath after the first game because it would kind of set you back and your performance would be decreased the second game. So you want to give it some time. You want to ice bath and then have some time before you perform again.
Okay.
You could get in a sauna. That might be reasonable, but think about those tour guys and how much fluids they've lost. If you get in a sauna, it's really hard. Yeah, you sweat so much in there. It's really hard to replace the fluids. And that's one of the dangers of sauna is you've got to be really careful about your fluids and electrolytes on a regular basis.
Oh my gosh. That is some crazy, interesting stuff that you just mentioned right there. But man, I guess going back to the sauna, I think what